Indonesia is abundant with energy, which is produced from various sources in various forms and is continuously moving the dynamics of every life, every day. Pertamina has continued to be the leader for more than 6 decades, with commitments to perpetually innovate in bringing energy to life. Consistently giving the most in every exploration, production, and other business activity to produce the best energy worldwide. Delivering energy evenly to cities, to remote frontiers, so that everyone can use their energy and move forward together. Various initiatives are taken in developing renewable energy, such as geothermal, solar cell, biofuel, lithium battery, and even electricity. Together with its affiliates, Pertamina is committed to achieve energy sustainability, fuel the economy, and build the future. Pertamina ensures that energy is also available for the environment, education, healthcare, and community empowerment. Pertamina believes that every continuous innovation is the energy to step forward. Pertamina is the energy, driving force of progress for every part of life.
Jadi ketika musim kemarau, kendala yang kami hadapi yaitu mengenai tidak adanya akses air bersih. Sehingga harus ambil sendiri atau membeli ke area Nusa Kambangan di sana. Sering terjadi banjir lompak atau banjir rob laut. Pembangkit listrik tenaga surya ini dimanfaatkan listriknya untuk pengoperasian sistem desalinasi air bersih. Digunakan untuk warga Dusun Bondan sejumlah sekitar 78 kepala keluarga. Air tawar hasil desalinasi ini bisa digunakan untuk kegiatan ibu-ibu memasak. Limbah kegiatan ibu rumah tangga ini tidak dibuang begitu saja dan dimanfaatkan bercocok tanam sayur mayur. Ada aktivitas penanaman pohon beringin laut. Pohon beringin ini mampu menyerap zat-zat yang kurang baik. Seluruhnya warga Dusun Bondan benar-benar sejahtera, mampu meningkatkan perekonomian masyarakat.
Indonesia is abundant with energy, which is produced from various sources in various forms and is continuously moving the dynamics of every life, every day. Pertamina has continued to be the leader for more than 6 decades, with commitments to perpetually innovate in bringing energy to life. Consistently giving the most in every exploration, production, and other business activity to produce the best energy worldwide. Delivering energy evenly to cities, to remote frontiers, so that everyone can use their energy and move forward together. Various initiatives are taken in developing renewable energy, such as geothermal, solar cell, biofuel, lithium battery, and even electricity. Together with its affiliates, Pertamina is committed to achieve energy sustainability, fuel the economy, and build the future. Pertamina ensures that energy is also available for the environment, education, healthcare, and community empowerment. Pertamina believes that every continuous innovation is the energy to step forward. Pertamina is the energy, driving force of progress for every part of life.
Jadi ketika musim kemarau, kendala yang kami hadapi yaitu mengenai tidak adanya akses air bersih. Sehingga harus ambil sendiri atau membeli ke area Nusa Kambangan di sana. Sering terjadi banjir lompa atau banjir rob laut. Pembangkit listrik tenaga surya ini dimanfaatkan listriknya untuk pengoperasian sistem desalinasi air bersih. Digunakan untuk warga Dusun Bondan sejumlah sekitar 78 kepala keluarga. Air tawar hasil desalinasi ini bisa digunakan untuk kegiatan ibu-ibu memasak. Limbah kegiatan ibu rumah tangga ini tidak dibuang begitu saja dan dimanfaatkan bercocok tanam sayur mayur. Ada aktivitas penanaman pohon beringin laut. Pohon beringin ini mampu menyerap zat-zat yang kurang baik. Seluruhnya warga Dusun Bondan benar-benar sejahtera, mampu meningkatkan perekonomian masyarakat.
Ih, terasa lagi itu.
Good evening for all speakers, guests, and participants. Welcome to our webinar titled Increasing Talent Readiness for Green Jobs. I would also like to greet our participants from our YouTube channel. Hosting this webinar today are the Society of Renewable Energy in collaboration with PT Pertamina Persero. My name is Bianca Natasha from the Society of Renewable Energy. Will guide you as the master of ceremony of this webinar. First of all, let me introduce you to the ESC B20 Task Force. The Energy, Sustainability, and Climate Task Force B20 comprises the global business community that formulates strong policies to ensure a fair and orderly energy transition by prioritizing aspects of technology, environmentally friendly energy, carbon offsets, and other potential collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to inform that on this day webinar, there will be prizes for 5 winners that will be given from our lucky draw. For those of you who tag us on our Instagram at SRE Indonesia, at B20 Task Force, and also at Pertamina. So stand a chance to win our prize by tagging us. Now, before we continue, for all of the participants, please rename your name into name_institution format. Once again, please replace your name with the following format: name_institution. Ladies and gentlemen, for our first agenda, let's hear the committee report presented by Zagi Yakanabrian, founder of the Society of Renewable Energy. For Zagi, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for everyone that's joining here with us today. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zagi Berian, founder at Society of Renewable Energy. Welcome to the first webinar of the side event series of the Energy, Sustainability, and Climate International SI Competition by the B20 Task Force ESC, entitled by Increasing Talent Readiness for the Green Jobs. Thank you so much, Her Excellency, Dr. Ruli Marianti, as the Principal Advisor of ISET project at GIZ, His Excellency, Mr. Agung Wicaksono, Deputy Chair, B20 Task Force ESG, His Excellency, Mr. Prahoro Nur Cahyanto, Head of Human Resources Development Agency at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. It is a privilege for us, SRE Indonesia, youth organization with focus on the energy, sustainability, and the climate to collaborate with the Pertamina and conduct such side event series, which are part of the B20 Energy, Sustainability, and Climate Task Force. The series will gather all of the stakeholders in the energy, sustainability, and climate sectors to be able discussing and creating a bold initiative, and of course with involvement of the youth. On behalf of our collaboration, our event consists of webinars, international paper competition, and also TikTok challenge. In this webinar, the event will be about discussion session with a grand theme, increasing talent readiness for the green jobs, to showcase companies and developing country strategies to fasten the implementation of sustainable energy in the case of the talent readiness. Along with the webinar series, there's another side event. This is international SI competition. As the side event from the B20 Task Force, our events aims to gather the best ideas from youth through the international competition and deliver their best ideas to the B20 Summit. This competition will become a hub for participants to exchange their ideas with relevant stakeholders towards energy transition working group meetings and the B20 Summits. We delight to announce this event has 730 participants from 285 teams and 96 universities from 7 countries such as Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Taiwan, and United Kingdom, and many more. The full SI announcement will be informed later on after this event from the committee. Last but not least, don't forget to join the TikTok challenge because there are many prizes to come, especially get the chance to attend the G20 or the B20 event. Again, welcome to each of you. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you. Back to you, moderator. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kazagi, for the comprehensive report. Now, let's take a picture together. The photo session will be guided by our committees and will be divided into 2 sessions. The first session is for all of the speakers, and the second session is for all of the participants. So, ladies and gentlemen, please turn on your camera. Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next agenda, I will be explaining the overview of today's discussion topic. In this webinar, the event will be in a form of discussion session with a grand theme, increasing talent readiness for green jobs, to showcase companies and developing country strategies to fasten the implementation of sustainable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, our discussion today has four main objectives. The first objective is the overview of current programs and collaborations by SOEs, companies, and institutions on preparing talent readiness on green jobs, or how these institutions transform their own businesses to becoming more sustainable by creating new green jobs opportunities. The second objective is present types of job opportunities in the new and renewable energy sector to the participants. The third objective is knowledge sharing on the role of institutions where the speaker comes from on advancing talent readiness for green jobs, especially in developing countries. Furthermore, provide an international perspective from the B20 Deputy Chair, Government, and ISED project by GIZ on this topic. Honored participants, without further waiting, let's move on to our main session roundtable discussion. The discussion will be guided by our moderator, Arliza Natania. For Natania, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Bianca, for the brief introduction. First of all, good evening for all panels or speakers, guests, and participants. Before moving on to the next agenda, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Arliza Natania, or Tania. I am the chair of Society of Renewable Energy Women that will lead today's discussion as a moderator. Before we start, let me introduce our first speaker, Ibu Ruli Marianti, currently as Principal Advisor of Innovation and Investment for Inclusive Sustainable Economic Development, or ISET project of GIZ, or German Development Cooperation. Bu Ruli also accomplished several accomplishments in policy and skill development advisory, responsible for designing, leading, and managing the integration of soft skills development model based on ISET training for hospitality industry in Lombok into staff development program of the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. Besides Ibu Ruli Marianti, our next amazing speakers, Bapak Agung Wicaksono. Bapak Agung is currently as Deputy Chair of B20 Energy Sustainability and Climate Task Force. Bapak Agung earned his Master in International Production Management in Technical University Hamburg, Germany, and PhD in International Management in University of St. Gallen, Swiss. Bapak Agung also responsible for several positions, including as the Managing Director of PT Jababeka Infrastructures, lecturer at the School of Business and Management Institute of Technology Bandung, or SBM ITB, and co-founder of Center for Policy and Public Management. On his previous role, Bapak Agung was appointed by the Governor of Jakarta to be the Chief Operating Officer of MRT Jakarta, the city government-owned state enterprise tasked with operating the first MRT in Indonesia. Next, finally, the last speaker that undoubtedly incredible as well. He is the head of Human Resources Development Agency in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Prahoro Nur Cahyo. Bapak Prahoro earned his Master and PhD of Ocean Engineering in Texas A&M University and was responsible as Senior Advisor for Investment and Development of Infrastructure. Bapak Prahoro also an expertise in various fields, including oil and gas, electricity, coal and mineral, and renewable energy as well. However, due to some limited schedule, Bapak Prahoro already sent us a brilliant recorded key takeaways for every guest and participants attending at the moment. After knowing some of our amazing speakers, we are going to our next agenda. So without further ado, please welcome Ibu Dr. Ruli Marianti. Ibu Ruli, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Tanya.
Hi, Ibu Ruli. Thank you for taking your time in this lovely evening to share some insightful knowledge in fire. I believe we have met before, Bu Ruli, several times because
Yes.
currently as our women in ISA GIZ is holding collaboration as well. So Ibu Ruli, how are you? Hopefully you are stay healthy and happy. How are you, Bu?
I'm happy and good, although it's now raining hard outside, but generally it's better and better.
Okay, okay. So I'm sure that the attendance is not passionate enough to wait for the presentation. So Ibu Ruli, the stage is yours.
Tanya, I believe that the organizer will be the one to share the presentation. Yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Energy Sustainability and Climate Task Force B20 and SRE, of course, for the invitations to contribute in this forum this evening. It's really a great opportunity for me, for ISET, to explain and to introduce what we are doing with regard to accelerating talent readiness for jobs. So my presentation is based on the experience of ISET project. ISET project is a project that focuses on skills development and employment. So you see now the first slide or the second slide. Let's see. First, I would like to ask all of you, participants of this webinar, to go to understanding jobs. This word, green jobs, this concept, lately has been used quite a lot. You see a lot of institutions and also activities that connected to developing green jobs or even a lot of with what they call green skills, green sectors, etc. But what is it, green job? So one thing to start with is that there is no universally accepted or agreed definition of green jobs. So we use a lot ILO definitions, like you will see in the presentations, that green jobs are decent jobs that contribute to preserve or restore the environment. They in traditional sectors as manufacturing, construction, or in new emerging sectors like renewable energy or energy efficiency. So this is quite often the definition of green jobs that is referred for people talking about green jobs. So it's actually, we can see that in this concept, green jobs or the green aspect can connect it into two, the processes, green processes that preserve and restore environment, friendly for environment, and the outputs, meaning products and also the services. Now, if you look at criteria, this is a definition, but these 5 criteria of green jobs can help us more to understand what it is actually green jobs. This 5 is improve energy and raw material efficiency with jobs that improve energy and raw material efficiency, limit greenhouse gas emissions, minimize waste and pollution, protect and restore ecosystems, and support adaptation to the effect of climate change. So this is what we can use to understand and to categorize which activity or which jobs that can be categorized as green jobs. And you can also here, I will not go into the detail, but this is what opportunity and challenges regarding green jobs. let's check on a few things about the challenge. That one interesting thing is actually creating green jobs will have an impact of existing business that are not environmentally friendly. So this is something that B20 in this forum quite interesting to think about, that as a consequences of low carbon economy, green jobs will be created while existing jobs will adapt. This also can be seen in for example, in energy when we talk about coal phase out. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, maybe you can just click it so that it's full. Yes, thank you. So let's put green jobs in the big picture. I think you would like you need to click a few other click. Yes, yes, thank you. Oh, sorry, yeah, thank you. So let's put green jobs in the big picture. I just would like to put together in one slide on the trends that actually can trigger or not trigger, can support actually the development of green jobs. Before we talk about the talent readiness, we talk about the job itself. We talk about the green jobs. First of all, in Indonesia, we have this Indonesia economic transition. Indonesia heading to green economy, low carbon development. We also have Indonesia national target in energy mix, 2025, 23%, go to the 2050, 21%. Also in Indonesia, we have demographic bonus next 10, 15 years. That means we must prepare workforce to capture job opportunities, in this case, in the green economy. So globally, we can also see how sustainable development goals already push forward, and this is also become the foundations to develop green jobs. So with seeing this picture, this big picture on the development, where the context of the development of green jobs, I think we cannot say no to accelerate the talent readiness to fill this job. Next slide, please. So here we zoom into the green jobs in Indonesia, opportunities and challenges. Where you can find green jobs, where you can find green jobs. Three potential area of green jobs development in Indonesia. First, related to works that require special skills in environmentally friendly technologies like renewable energy. Second, works that applies green economy principles, efficiency, circularity works, economic friendly farming, for example, sustainable transportation. And third, works that are affected by energy transition. This goes without all this, I think a lot of energy businesses also think about it now for this energy transition. Now, if you look at challenges of green jobs development in Indonesia, first of all, like I mentioned in the beginning, still there is no the understanding of green job is still very no agreed definition to be used consistently, especially in human resources policy making. We also see the impact, the negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic, also will slow down development of green jobs. Interestingly, that companies that ready to develop green jobs are the large multinational companies, but SMEs, they still have not really seen the benefit of adopting good practices, have not contributed so much to the development of green jobs. Another thing is, it's interesting to also mention or underline the lack of human resources with appropriate skills or green skills. The availability of green skills, education and training of green skills is still very limited, both in terms of quantity and quality. one good anecdote. In Indonesia, we have 14,000 vocational schools, SMK. Do you know how many from the 14,000 SMK who has this technology for renewable energy, teknik energi terbarukan? In total, only 32 out of 14,000 SMK. So this is still a big gap on the supply side, on the education and training side to prepare this talent ready for green jobs. So, and also limited ability and interest to develop green business practices. How many green jobs is predicted to be created based on the renewable energy, the National Electricity Master Plan? It is one of the number of prediction, but I will use this, is total 7.2 million total job year. So it's a lot. The message is a lot. There are a lot of, there are some number of predictions, but the message is one, there will be a lot of job creation related to green. Next, please. So let me quick introduce the ISEF project. So that was the first two slides with the idea about what we are talking about if we talk about green jobs. Now, I would like to introduce ISEF project because ISEF project work on skill development and also to support the creation of green jobs in Indonesia. So ISEF project is 3 years until 2024. The target group is employees, job seeker, people, fresh graduates, teachers, instructors. The sector is renewable energy. Cooperation partner, governance, Directorate of Manpower. We have 3 work areas. We work on strengthening private sector engagement. We work on the skill development, and we work on development of conducive policy and regulatory. So this ISEF project, let's go into what we do to support the acceleration of talent readiness. Next slide. Yes, like I mentioned before, we have 3 work areas. The first work area is work together with private sector to strengthen private sector engagement and skill development. So we have this 4 work actually. We develop competence standards for selected green occupations. One in both in renewable energy, one in solar, and one in geothermal. We also create in-company trainer, this industry-driven training also, in-company trainer, industry-driven training. And we also support the establishment of sectoral skill council. So here, in competence standards, why we do that? Because the HR qualification standard need to be developed according to the industry demand. And industry demand needs to be integrated in training. In the industry-driven training and in-company training, all this increased competence of industry human resources. And sectoral skill council, this is bridge within the supply side, the education and training, and also the demand side of the industry. So the long-term contribution will be availability of human resources in quantity and quality according to industry demand to enhance the growth of renewable energy industry. That means we support the development of green jobs in India. Next, please. In the second work area, ISEF works in the development of development, technical and vocational education, improvement of technical and education. What we do first, we conduct certification of teachers. We are now preparing certification of 125 teachers from all over Indonesia. that work in SMK that offer this technology of renewable energy. Also, we work on to develop labor market training providers. So certification of teachers, this is to strengthen their capacity, increase their personal competency in renewable energy fields. And the labor market-oriented training providers, here we improve training providers. We increase also competitiveness of young job seekers and fresh graduates to enter labor. What is the long-term contribution? The contribution is the ability of training providers in overall quality and quantity according to industry. So we work on the private sector, the demand side, we work in the supply side, the training providers, but also together with SRE actually, we work in the middle part, the matching part, to bridge actually the supply and the demand. Next, please. In the last work area of ISET, we work on policy and regulatory development. Here, we develop green job concepts together with World Bank, together with governors, and then we try to get this agreement on a definition and work with BPS, for example, the national statistics, to get data on green jobs, and develop this roadmap for green jobs development. We also develop green jobs occupation map in 5 sectors, and develop also conducive policy and regulation. 2 ministerial regulations. One of it on green jobs is also ongoing. So let's see the next slide. Yes.
Apologize to interrupt, Bu Ruli. You have 2 more minutes.
Okay. Here is, you can see the steps how we promote green jobs in Indonesia, from conceptual foundation, ecosystem building, awareness and promotion, strategy and policy, strategic partnership, and institutionalization of policy. So these are the steps from 2021 until 2024 that we do, and we are happy to have SRE part of this roadmap to develop. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, this is the last slide. So what are the important requirements for promoting green jobs in Indonesia? First, clear conceptual positioning, agreed working definition for policy making, common understanding among wider public, alignment with strategic priorities, government, country, right timing, like now, climate issues, green interest and demand, having partnered with the right mandate and positive response and strong support from the community. So these are the important success factors if we go further into the path for developing green jobs in Indonesia. A reason why we need to accelerate talent readiness to fill in the gap. Thank you, Tanya. This is from
Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Ruli, for the lovely presentation. So I think I have already conclude a few points from your presentation. The first one is Ibu Ruli explains the fundamentals, the definition of green jobs, and then opportunities, and also its challenges. And then a helicopter view of green jobs position and how it relates with the sustainable development goals. Green jobs also relates with green economy, which is currently increasing. And then the ISET project introduction, that one of the works area is to focus in skills development that can hopefully increase green job participation in Indonesia. And the last one is ISET has the roadmap towards green job, which hopefully can increase the participation of youth in green jobs. So, ladies and gentlemen, after our first speaker, Ibu Ruli, had delivered wonderful insights, I'm going to invite Bapak Agung Wicaksono as our next speakers. Bapak Agung, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, Alia. Thank you.
Good evening, Bapak Agung. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm very excited and delighted to meet, almost 400 young generations, the one that will be in charge of energy transition in the future.
Okay. Okay, Bapak Agung, without further ado, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Arliza. So a very warm good evening to Ibu Ruli Marianti from GIZ. It's an honor to follow from your very insightful presentation, and also my very respected colleague, Dr. Prahoro Nurcahyo, Pak Prahoro, who is the head of Human Resource Development Agency, BPSDM of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. So it's very inspiring to meet such a group of young talents, especially on Friday night. A lot of time, young people on Friday night, they would go out and enjoy time, but you are now hopefully enjoying your time as well by looking and learning from this webinar. So yes, I'm here representing the Task Force of ESC, Energy Sustainability and Climate of B20 Indonesia. And also from my professional background, I'm with Jababeka Infrastruktur, which is a company that is also developing infrastructure for industrial estate. And we run the largest industrial estate in Indonesia. But what I'm going to share with you tonight is mainly based on the very challenge that we are facing right now. And let's take a look at the first slide, if I may. So in this slide, basically is the answer why a lot of people right now is talking about energy transition, net zero, and at the end also about green jobs. So this chart is showing the increase of the temperature on Earth. So the chart on the left before that vertical line showed the increasing of the Earth temperature from year to year. And as you can see, it is now almost approaching 2 degrees Celsius. It's already 1.5 degrees Celsius. And actually, the science showed that it should not be reaching 2 degrees Celsius. It has to be well below 2 degrees Celsius. In order to maintain this planet Earth, the only planet that we have that we can live in right now, and not only for my generation, not only for your generation, but also for the future generation. So that is why energy transition is very important, because only through energy transition, this global warming can be managed, can be stopped. So and as you can see on the right side of the chart, we have to do something in order to prevent the temperature rising so high, like you see in the scenario of the fossil fuel development, or regional rivalry. Right now we have also a global rivalry, a war, which is of course not good for the future of the Earth, right? So we have to be able to take the scenario that will maintain the Earth temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. And all of this have been put into agreement through what we call the Paris Agreement. So the COP in 2016, the Conference of the Parties in 2016, has agreed on this pretext that we need to hold the increase in the temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius. And in fact, we have to take effort to limit the increase to just 1.5 degrees Celsius. So 1.5 degrees Celsius from where? It's from the pre-industrial level. So it is a very important step that we have to do. And We will see in the next slide, please. Yeah, in the next slide. Yeah, how then this journey of energy transition is happening. So on the left, we see the importance on the role of energy. Yeah, so the energy in that chart is in the red color. It represents the largest portion of greenhouse gas emission. Yeah, in 2016, the emission were 49, almost 50 billion tons of CO2 equivalent. So that's why energy transition is the primary key to avoid the climate disaster, the one that we have seen from the previous slides. And government around the world, you can see in the middle, are making commitment. So there are climate targets. This is the target from 2021, yeah, that 64 countries have submitted the what we call nationally determined contribution, or NDC, yeah. So this is the official target submitted by the government, and also 7 countries have proposed new target, although there are still many countries who have not updated the target. But at the end, on the right slide, we see the target is to have a net zero emission. Yeah. So what is net zero emission? Well, basically the carbon that was emitted, the one on the very left side, yeah, it has to be maintained as such that at the end the emission is net zero. Yeah, net zero meaning yes, you can emit carbon from industrial activities, but at the same time you also have to make sure that there is a way to absorb that, to capture that, or even better still, if you are able to create economic activities, yeah, that can reduce the carbon emission. Yeah, so this is how various countries around the world have the net zero target, and Indonesia has 2060 as the net zero target. Now maybe you're saying that, well, it's still quite long from now, but wait a minute, 2060 is not my area, my era, maybe not even yours, but that is going to be the era of your children. That's why we have to work from now in order to achieve this net zero emission. On the next slide, then we see the implication of this net zero to renewable energy. Yeah. So the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, the institution of Pak Prahoro, has issued what we call the National Grand Energy Strategy. Yeah. And this strategy put a target of the new and renewable energy share of Indonesia to achieve 20% in year 2025. Yeah, which is not so long from now, just 3 more years. And right now, if we look at the data in 2021, the green color there, it just shows that just right now 12% of the energy mix is from new and renewable energy. Yes, this is still far from the target of 23% in 2025. But if you look at the progress from 2015, yeah, it was an increase of 7%. Yeah, 2015 to 2021, yeah, from 5% to 12%. Now, can we have this by 2025 at 23%? Yeah. Well, the outlook showed that by 2050 we must even achieve it 31%. Yeah. So it's really a lot of work that needs to be done. Yeah, from 12% now to 31% 2050. Yeah, and all that work in the renewable energy will have one implication, that is on jobs. So if you look at the next slide, please. Now let us reflect from my time when I was in the transportation sector. So Arliza mentioned I was a director of operation at MRT Jakarta back in year 2016 to 2019. I was at that time, without realizing, I was in charge of jobs, creating jobs that in fact became green jobs. Why is that? Those jobs are the train driver, the machinist in Bahasa Indonesia, of the MRT train. MRT itself as a mode of transportation is obviously a green transportation because one, the MRT use the electricity as the fuel, so not using fuel of diesel, but electricity, which is clearly cleaner for the air. And secondly, when people takes the MRT as public transport and they leave their private car at home, then it's also a contribution. It's also a contribution in reducing the carbon emission. So this is why it becomes a green job. Yeah. And what is also interesting that at that time, it was the first time there are train drivers, there are machinists in Indonesia who are female. Yeah. Why? Because technology of MRT, yeah, it is much more doable to be run by female because of the digital technology with the automation and such. Yeah. Also, after MRT Jakarta, I was in charge of Transjakarta, or what people know as the busway. So I was the CEO at that time, and during that time, we also initiated the pilot project for EV, for electric vehicle, which means the electric bus for Transjakarta. So for electric bus, certainly the skills required for the job is different. So the skills that we have in the internal combustion engine for the diesel bus, for example, like engine overhaul, gearbox transmission, this will be outdated when all the buses replaced by electric bus, which is clearly cleaner and being, a greener transportation. What is required now as the new job in this EV bus is like computerized integration, battery management system. Yeah, we need to understand battery, controller discharge and surcharge, charger system, yeah, diagnostic analyzer. So there are many new competences, new skills, and there are also outdated skills later. Yeah, and this is a challenge. Yeah, not only for you but also for us. Yeah, for example, my company right now also is looking at electric vehicle. Yeah, and we need to understand how we can develop and get the talents for this. And at the last, that picture on the left, it shows an Indonesian lady, an engineer, a software engineer. Yeah, but it's bukan kaleng-kaleng. Yeah, somebody who is very important is the autopilot software engineer. So she is the one who designed the software that can make autopilot in Tesla, the electric car. Yeah, so it's an Indonesian talent getting a green job, yeah, at the leading company globally, yeah, and again also a female. Yeah, so this is a very inspiring, and I believe, yeah, this is the way to go when we talk about green jobs, and this is something that can be within your reach. The next slide, we see that basically this energy transition brings three developments. One is what we call decarbonization, yeah, and then digitalization and decentralization. So the kind of jobs that will be in demand in the future will be in these three areas. The decarbonization, for example, if you're an engineer and you can be mastering hydropower, yeah, which is of course a renewable energy installation, you'll be very lucky. Yeah. Or if you are a technician and you are having the skill of solar PV installer, yeah, this is also very impactful, and hopefully also in the future, yeah, there are many solar PV installation. Of course, this is also a job that is high in demand. Another thing is wind turbine, for example, yeah, or geothermal engineering. Yeah, so jobs that relates to renewable energy, electricity generation. Second job that is also important in this energy transition is digitalization related. So for example, if you look at PLN right now as our utility company, PLN has a application, yeah, PLN Mobile. So this application is now served as the digital customer service. Yeah, people do not call the call center of PLN anymore. They will use the PLN Mobile. And what is now necessary is how you have the talent for this digital customer service. How you have the data scientists in this digitalization who will analyze the big data that such application will collect. Yeah. And the third is the kind of job that relates with decentralization. Yeah. So a lot of power generation will be now distributed generation. Yeah. It's not always centralized. And that's why you need these skills. Smart grid engineers, for example, battery storage technician, power system planner, and so on. So these are going to be the high paying job, hopefully in the future. And it's not only high paying, but also saving the planet. That is very important. In the next slide, we see, I'm not going to go into detail on green jobs. This is already explained by Dr. Ruli. But obviously, these green jobs has a very noble objective, right? Limit greenhouse gas emission, improve efficiency of energy and raw material, minimize waste and pollution, protect and restore ecosystem, and support the adaptation to the effect of climate change. And on the right, you see these are the green jobs that we identify, and we can go further later in detail what kind of green jobs are there right now. So the next slide, please. Yes, these are the important skills for the green jobs, what we call the green core competencies. And this will be necessary for the professionals working in the green jobs. Yeah. So on the left, this tree shows, yeah, the various competences requires for these green jobs. Yeah, both in the strategy element as well as in the implementation element. Yeah, and on the right we see the competencies required for this professional. Yeah, these are competencies for the adaptation to climate change. Yeah, so this is interesting because you see many of the competences are actually competences that is also general. Yeah, and you need to master also in other jobs like problem solving, critical thinking, and so on. But to be sustainability professional, you need to have these soft competences like being responsible, and you need to be willing to move from uncertainty to improvement and to make impact. Yeah, and you must have subject specific competences with interdisciplinary and inclusive communication. This is interesting. You can be specialist, but you need to have the generalist competence of communication. Yeah, and also the generalist competence is about anticipatory and strategic competence. And all these competence cannot be just simply, you know, taken by having certain course. Yeah, this has to be developed. This has to be honed. Yeah, and especially when it comes to sustainability management competencies. Yeah, you need to have values and knowledge about sustainability. And you need to have skills about communication, change management, getting information, and project management. So it is interesting, right? It is not only about specific technical competence, but mainly it has to do a lot with managerial competence. Yeah, and these are the things that you will be able to develop along the way. So the next slide, I will conclude with the role that I'm currently having, which is at the B20. So B20, for many of you who doesn't know, is the dialogue partner of G20. So as you know, President Jokowi right now holding the presidency of G20, and G20 are a group of 20 countries in the world that has the highest GDP. The B20, the Business 20, is the business dialogue partner, the business community of G20. And also this year, the B20 leadership is held by Indonesia. The chair is Ibu Sinta Kamdani from Kadin, and the Sherpa of B20 is Mr. Rizal Lukman from the Ministry of Economy. So the objective of this B20 is to represent the interests of the business community, but especially also to help create policy recommendation, and then having a dialogue between the public and the private sector, between the business and the government. And there are 6 task force and 1 action council, and one of the task force of B20 is energy, sustainability, and climate, led by Ibu Nika Widiawati, the CEO of Pertamina, as the chair. Yeah, so it's an honor for Indonesia to have the CEO of Pertamina leading this task force. You know, a very successful professional female leader. Yeah, so this speaks for the quality of Indonesia leadership, and I'm honored to be helping Ibu Nika as the deputy chair in this task force, together with Mr. Oki Muraza from Pertamina as policy manager, and we are advised also by another business leader, the CEO of PLN, yeah, Dr. Dramawan Prasojo. Yeah, so you can see that we have the the great leadership of the Indonesian state-owned enterprise in energy in this ESC task force, leading a group of companies. For example, as the co-chairs, there are 8 companies from around the world. Yeah, and these co-chairs are global business leaders. Yeah, that together we work in order to give the policy recommendation for the G20 government. So in the next slide, please, we see this is the house of the policy recommendation that the B20 task force has created. So the role of the business is about helping the energy access, the energy technology, and also getting the financing. Yeah, but in order for that to happen, we need to have the right policy, and therefore this policy recommendation is like a house, right? Consists of 3 key recommendations. So about accelerating sustainable energy use, and then secondly about ensuring just and affordable transition, and the third is about access and clean energy. Now, if we talk about green jobs, it is part of the second policy that is about just and orderly transition, because as part of that is what we call the human capital transition. How the talent, the human capital, can shift from jobs which are not green toward green jobs. So for example, you imagine about people who are working in coal mining company, yeah, or let's say maybe those people working at the Pertamina gas station. How about if in the future, we reduce more and more the use of coal, because coal phase down, yeah, is part of this recommendation in energy transition. Yeah, or about electric vehicle, for example, which means there will be at the end maybe no gas station necessary. How about the jobs there, right? So these are the kind of things that needs to be prepared in terms of detailed policy, yeah, in order to make sure that the energy transition is also supported by human capital transition, yeah, so that at the end it is just and orderly, just, it provides justice, no one left behind. It has to be orderly, yeah, well managed. It's not something that is done abruptly and without planning. So this is why human capital is a very important element of that. And then in the next slide, please, my dear friends, what does it mean for you? What does it mean for the job market? Yeah, this energy transition brings about opportunities for you in being in the green jobs. So these are the list of some of the energy companies. Yeah, and these are the kind of jobs that exist in this green, in this energy company right now. Yeah, So ranging from business development, renewable energy, to environmental analyst, to system planning engineer. Remember, when we talk about distributed generation, yeah, in electricity, we need to have people who are very good at system planning, so that this, power system will be able to utilize renewable energy. Yeah, maintenance engineer, operator engineer for wind power, solar power, but also managerial position like Vice President for Safety and Environment, for Strategy and Sustainability, Chief Sustainability Officer, and so on. Yeah, Executive Managing Director for Energy Transition, Sustainability and Technology. So these are the kind of jobs for you in the future, or already exist right now. Just last week, I visited Pertamina Power Indonesia to have a meeting with Pertamina Power, and I met, my junior in college, young talent, but already being appointed now as a vice president on sustainability in this sub-holding company of Pertamina in charge of new and renewable energy. So my dear friends, dear students, the future is yours. The future is in front of your eyes, and the future is this planet Earth. Because this planet Earth is not the legacy from my ancestor, but this planet Earth is something that I borrow from the future generation. And that is in your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bapak Agung, for the presentation. So from Pak Agung presentation, he reminds us again of why our generation should think further to save our planet, the one and only Earth, because we don't actually have that much time to save our planet because of the climate change risk. And then also a point that I would like to highlight is that how female leaders is rising in green jobs. For example, like the autopilot software engineer from Tesla that you have mentioned, and then Ibu Nika from Pertamina as the chair itself in this task force. And then it's interesting to know that the green core competencies not only is a safe space for the STEM background, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students, but also it's pretty general. We need skills like problem solving and then communications. So other students, other people who come from a non-STEM background can also contribute in green jobs transitions. And then the last one that I would like to highlight is that our commitment in Indonesia is definitely moving forward, seeing that there are a lot of state-owned enterprises and then private sectors which is currently hiring. So all of you attendees who are looking for an opportunities to work at the green jobs, your time is now. It's definitely a positive movement. Thank you, Pak Agung, for the lovely presentations. Okay, so before we continue to our last speakers, I would like to remind you, the attendees, if you have questions, you can access the link Slido that is dropped by the committee in the chat box below. Feel free to ask any questions that you want to specific speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, after the second speakers, moving on, I would like to introduce our last speakers, which is the head of Human Resources Development Agency, Bapak Prahoro Yulianto Nur Cahyo. However, due to some circumstances, Bapak Prahoro will deliver his key takeaways in the form of video presentations. In his video, he will explain about the Energy Transition Working Group, or ETWG, that aims to strengthen global sustainable energy systems and just transition while accelerating efforts for achieving SDGs and mitigating the adverse impacts of climate change. So as the audience can understand from Pak Agung presentation, that the urgency to transition into clean energy also drills down into how as human can also contribute in the sectors. So that's why we have the green jobs. And through this video, we will understand more further the connection between the energy transition and the green job itself. So for the committee who is responsible to play the video, I leave it to you.
Distinguished speakers and participants, greeting to you all. Good evening from Jakarta. My name is Prahoro Nur Cahyo, co-chair of Energy Transition Working Group, G20 2022. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this webinar on energy transition held by B20 and SRE Indonesia, titled Increase Talent Readiness for Jobs. For your brief background, G20 Indonesia's presidency has chosen the main theme, Recover Together, Recover Stronger. The presidency has set 3 pillars, namely global health architecture, digital economic transformations, and sustainable energy transitions. The pillar of sustainable energy transitions is organized by Energy Transition Working Group, addressing 3 priorities on accessibility, technology, and financings. We have completed the first ETWG meeting in Yogyakarta on the 24th to 25th of March and the second ETWG in Labuan Bajo on 23rd to 25th of June. Overall, G20 members and invited countries welcomed and supported the priorities and the main agenda towards the ministerial and leaders meeting. I am pleased to inform you all that in our second ETWG meeting, the importance of just, affordable, and sustainable energy transitions is addressed by G20 members and invited countries delegates. We will also promote just energy transitions in one of our key deliverables, the G20 Bali Compact, stand for Bali Common Principles in Accelerating Energy Transitions. Why we are eager to address just energy transitions and why today's event will be essential for us all. Chiefly, this is due to the fact that the core of just energy transitions will relate to decent, clean, and sustainable jobs which will be created and recreated during the process of sustainable energy transitions. Why are the jobs becoming the core of just energy transitions? And why is it essential for us to increase talent readiness for clean and sustainable jobs? First, creating decent jobs and sustainable economic growth is one of the aim of Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, while also ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. In this decade of actions, energy as the key sector in enhancing economic and social development is also responsible for preparing decent and sustainable jobs. Second, global sustainable energy transitions will create massive amount of jobs in broader sectors of energy transitions. The IEA World Economic Outlook 2021 has estimated that international communities need the creation of around 32 million jobs in clean energy, energy efficiency, and clean energy technologies by 2030. From that number, energy efficiency will become the largest contributor for the green jobs, followed by power generations, which consists of solar and wind power, low-emission cars, grids and the interconnections, bioenergy sectors, and use renewables, innovative technologies, and critical mineral industries. That number will include 16 million freshly created jobs that does not exist yet today. This will also include new roles for existing workers in constructions, in the manufacturing for emissions-reducing products like EVs and hyper-efficient appliances, and in the innovative technologies such as hydrogen and energy storage. Third, clean jobs will become the key to ensure the success on global sustainable recovery. The global pandemic COVID-19 has impacted to more than 160 million workers in G20 countries. Global sustainable recovery is the key momentum to accelerate sustainable energy transitions, as well as reskilling and upskilling job talents and job readiness. These challenges can be countered through innovative measures and strategies, such as incorporating sustainability measures and the increased use of information and communication technology in broader sector of jobs. Realizing these future projections and challenges highlights the urgency of this event to share and exchange best practices in increasing talent readiness toward decent, clean, and sustainable jobs. Increasing talent readiness for jobs can also prepare actions in facing the hardship in global economic downturn, while it advances the pathways to achieve Agenda 2030 and toward just, affordable, and secure net zero future. Finally, to B20 ESC Task Force SRE, all speakers and participants, I wish you all have a successful discussion in increasing talent readiness for sustainable jobs toward our goals to recover together and recover stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Prahoro, for the video. So I think from the video, it can be comprised that we were reminded by one of our efforts from the government to spread awareness on energy transition is by holding an event called the ETWG. And also keywords that I always take notes from the presentations of our speakers is the keywords of just transition, in which we are going to discuss in the next session. So, okay, I think we are going to have a small breaks first for 5 minutes. After that, we are going to continue to the Q&A sessions. For all the attendees, I'm going to remind you once again that if you have questions, feel free to drop your questions in the Slido link that has already dropped in the chat box below. Okay, after the break, let's continue to our next session, which is the Q&A. To all of the committee, please pin the both of our amazing speakers, Ibu Ruli and also Pak Agung. We're going to continue to the Q&A session for the next 20 minutes. So I would like to remind once again to all of the attendees, if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the Slido link below in the chat box. Okay, so I think before we continue to the questions from the attendees, I personally have questions that I am curious about. I think both speakers can answer the questions. So it's kind of interesting to me that just transition is a word that is used especially to campaign in this G20 event. So just transition means leaving no one's behind, and the challenge of just transition, we all know, is to mitigate the risk of people and communities being left behind in this very changing world. So in green jobs, can you do you have any perspective or probably sites or strategies of how can it be accessible inclusively, not only to balance out the gender participation like men and women, but also how just transition can also be a safe space for people with disabilities or also refugees, which is considered as the prone social group. So yeah, I think probably Ibu Ruli can answer my questions first, and maybe Pak Agung can also add it up to the answers.
Thank you, Tanya. That is also very interesting, but quite complicated questions. Look, if we talk about this concept, all the green concept, we talk about green economy. Within the green economy, we talk about the human side of it, green jobs, employment side of it, green jobs. Within green jobs, the talent, we've got this green skills, we have green sectors, and all this under the umbrella of this just transition, energy transition, etc. These are quite a big concept with a lot of aspects that related to each other. And for us, I just look at how the project, because this is the project can be used as a kind of miniature of lab in putting together all those aspects or even disentangle all of the complications. First of all, that's why in our heart to support the government of Indonesia to create or to develop green jobs in Indonesia, first of all, we talk about what do we mean by green jobs. So first is really, before we talk about inclusiveness, etc., let's understand first and also agree what we mean about green jobs. Maybe it's not globally, maybe this is for Indonesia, but at least we have to start somewhere, because this is not only about definition, but within the definition, we also can take out one by one. For example, what other occupations are there? Agung, for example, show lists of occupations, and this we have occupational map conducted for 5 sectors: manufacturing, construction, services, also agriculture and renewable energy. And this document already now around 700 pages. So occupations on green job is also growing, and we need to compile everything before we select again. Even that is also a big homework. So talking about definition, we talk about, okay, what occupations under this green job? What kind of skills we need? how we developed training, education and training to support this development of this skill, etc., etc. So it's really, before we go further, just understand what do we mean by that for context in Indonesia. Policymaker has to do it. Statistic Indonesia has to know, because without that, we cannot compile data. I saw one of the questions, for example, from the participants is about asking among this B20 country, which one actually has the most green jobs and how it affects their revenue. These are about data. Now, without agreed definition, institutions like BPS, like Statistic Indonesia, cannot compile data, cannot collect data, and we cannot use for analysis and also inform the policy making for conducive policy and regulations for that. So it's quite complicated, but let's take the first step first, agree on it, what it is we need about green jobs. It's actually also the energy transition. There are a lot of aspects in it, political aspect, economic aspect, step by step, aspect by aspect, we have to see, although we should not lose the big picture of it. It sounds, the answer to your questions is also complicated, because really, this is something where we have to, together, to take out one by one of all this aspect, facet of the complexity, and then put together again into the big picture. So concretely, first talking about definition, about the occupations, about the skills and how to develop the skills, matching company with the talent, etc. Just go step by step. But I know we cannot. One thing I'm sure, we cannot wait longer. We have to do it now. The future starts now. I hope this can reduce a little bit the complexity of your questions, Tania. Or Pak Agung maybe can add to the complexity.
Yes, adding the complexity, yeah, rather than reducing the complexity.
Yes,
Bu. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's true, but I think we have to be optimistic.
Yes.
There are lessons from other country, as there was a question asking which country has the largest proportion. I mean, I don't know the answer, but obviously different countries have shown there are lessons we should take from the way they do energy transition and make sure that jobs are well taken care. So, for example, Germany, I'm sure Ibu Ruli can have more information on that, but we know that the so-called Energiewende, yeah, the term for energy transition in Germany is called Energiewende, and this is something that becomes even a big political debate, yeah. And one of the biggest sector that is affected by this Energiewende is the coal producing area, coal producing region, like what we call the Ruhr area, the Ruhrgebiet. Yeah, I happen to study also in Germany. So at that time, I think the data I got showed that there were about 600,000 workers being affected, yeah, because of this transition. So what does the government do? Well, they have to do retraining. They did even early retirement, for example, yeah, pensiun dini, yeah. So meaning you got to provide, cash to help them. Establishment of educational institution. Yeah. So interesting. Buruli mentioned about SMK. Only 14 out of so many has the renewable energy. Well, even a country like Germany also needs to do retraining. Yeah. So many other examples. Australia, South Africa, Canada, all are countries with strong presence of the mining industry, and all of them showed the lessons for us that there has to be real policy design to capture that, but lots of that has to do with retraining, incentive or financial assistance when it comes to, for example, there is a closure of old power plants, and very important, you need to have a dialogue, social dialogue with the community, yeah, the surrounding people to a certain fossil fuel based project. So as we speak right now, the situation in the world is becoming more challenging, yeah, with the war happening in Ukraine, yeah. The impact is that many countries in Europe having difficulty to get energy supply because the supply mainly coming from Russia. Yeah. So some of these countries have even, stepped back in this energy transition by going back into fossil fuel energy. Yeah. So this adds to the complexity. Yeah. But at the end of the day, of course, we want to make sure the planet Earth will be maintained for the long term, but we cannot forget the fact that for the very short term, for the near term, many countries requiring source of energy. They need energy security. So there is a call for a balance between energy security and energy sustainability through energy transition. I think that's the additional complexity that I added to this discussion.
Thank you, Buruli and Pak Agung. I think it definitely answers my questions that optimism is surely needed, but we have to actually move somewhere, somewhen, and the time is now, so we cannot wait any longer. Thank you for the answers, Buruli and Pak Agung. Okay, I think we already have a few questions that are mentioned by the committee. I think the first one I'm going to read, Dimas Rizky Fajar. He asked, is the opportunity for the industrial sector in an effort to produce electric cars to be implemented and processed correctly? I think this question is for Pak Agung, about the industry.
Dimas, I hope I understand the question correctly. Can you show it again, Natania? Is the opportunity for the industrial sector in an effort to produce electricity to be and process? I don't get the sense of this question, but basically, I can say that many industrial zone like Jababeka or in West Java, around Cikarang, or in Central Java, there is Batang and Kendal. We are benefiting from this transition to electric vehicle. Yeah. So one of the automotive companies have the factory of electric vehicle in the Cikarang area. So obviously, this is something that shows that electric vehicle is not only valuable for the market. Yeah, Indonesia should not be just the market, but also should be the ground that benefits from the process. Yeah, we've heard also that the government is aiming to bring, for example, Tesla to Indonesia, and possibly maybe going to Batang industrial area and others. So obviously, this is an opportunity, and not only from the production side, yeah, also from the usage, yeah, from the consumption. So, for example, the industrial estate that I manage, Jababeka, we have a vision of TOD city, transit-oriented development city. So it's a city that should be based on green infrastructure, including green transportation. So we're now working to bring the MRT line to Jababeka area, yeah, and also at the same time making more use of public transport, and at the same time also installing the infrastructure for electric vehicle. So, for example, EV charging station. Yeah, one of the cities that has a EV charging station is Jababeka. Yeah, so that the user of electric vehicle, for example, like myself, when I'm in the Jababeka area, I should not worry because there is already EV charging station in the area. So that is obviously the benefit of this transition to electric vehicle for industrial estate.
Thank you, Pak Agung, for the answer, especially.
And if I may, Tanya, I would like to answer the question about this proportion of green jobs. I just saw data showing that basically when it comes to green jobs, all regions see gains in energy in green job. But the one that has the largest portion is, interestingly, is Southeast Asia. Yeah, Southeast Asia, and followed by East Asia. Yeah, meaning China and Japan. So we should be optimistic. Yeah. So this is the question, the third question, right? We should be optimistic that this energy transition with the green job has a good impact for emerging market countries like us in Southeast Asia. Yeah, and this fits very well. Right now, the G20, for the very first time in history, the president is from an emerging market, yeah, Indonesia. And this is also an opportunity because the data shows that the gain in energy sector job has the largest portion is in Asia, yeah, East Asia especially, and Southeast Asia. Yeah, so that's what I could say right now from the data for the question number 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Agung, for the answer. So I think the next question appear is from Adam. He asked how to educate our society about nuclear energy. Well, this is really interesting because a lot of countries out there is still struggling as well to develop the nuclear energy. And then many of them were afraid about the dangers, about the spreading of the awareness of how this can be safe to the society, but it's good for our energy resilience. So I think, Ibu Ruli, do you want to answer the question?
I'm not an expert in nuclear energy, but if I just say, I share some of this quote-unquote fear because we don't know a lot about it. And that is something to answer that questions, is that usually people rejection or we can call it fear or hesitance to embrace something, even though there is also a good aspect of it, because it is very specific and a lot of people only know very superficial about it. So probably what we can do for this is not expecting people know about nuclear energy, but it's starting with a better informations, awareness raising, awareness campaign on energy resilience, on clean energy resilience in this case. So starting from that, that is something that you can provide informations for wider public rather than knowing the pros and the cons of nuclear energy. So why do we have to work on energy resilience? What are the opportunities? What are the available opportunities? How we do it in a way that can be accepted, digested by a wider public. This is something. It's also like, for example, if we go back to green jobs, green skills, it's also quite a lot if we expect a wider public know exactly the nitty-gritty technical stuff about green jobs, both in the occupations, skills, etc. But at least what we can share, part of our campaign, part of our awareness raising, is the situation right now, the challenge that faced by us, all of us globally, that this challenge cannot be put aside and we said, okay, this is for later. No, this is the challenge now, we have to do it now. And it is also put in a way that this kind of informations can be made or developed for a specific public also. So it's really good to have, for example, I'm happy to have that higher platform, for example, from Society of Renewable Energy. This is really a campaign, a combination of information sharing, campaign, educational also aspect on it, on quite complex topics like green jobs, in a way that focus on a certain public, namely the youth. I followed in Instagram, I followed the activity, and I really like the way it shows the information shared, because it's simple, it's and it is also catered for certain group. That is something that probably we can also use to educate wider public on energy resilience, etc. So we have to make it for specific groups, also, in a way that can be accepted by the specific groups. So we cannot just have a blueprint for everybody, wider public, something like that. I think it will be missed a lot if we do campaign like that for wider public education.
Thank you, Buruli, for the answer. So I think before we can move on to a bigger strategy, which is to implement nuclear energy, we should get back first to educate the people itself, so we can understand that better about nuclear energy. Okay, and then the next one is from Umam. He asked, how have green jobs changed Indonesian on all scales, and what are the things that have been prepared and if this has a negative impact. I think he meant by it. Maybe Pak Agung can answer first. After that, Buruli, if you want to add an addition to the answers.
Yes, I think it has changed bit by bit. We have not seen an immediate and abrupt, a huge change that we see. So, for example, when I mentioned about the electric bus, it doesn't mean that immediately no mechanics needed anymore in the transportation sector. Yeah, well, it's more like then the challenge of these mechanics, yeah, to actually learn new skills so that they are able to handle the electric bus. Yeah, but it's not yet immediately that they're all losing the job. Yeah. But if you ask me what needs to be prepared, I think it has been explained before. It's about retraining. Yeah, it's about preparing incentive schemes. So because, for example, maybe not all people who existed in the previous job will be ready to embrace the new challenge of the green job. Maybe some of them are already too outdated in terms of the knowledge, or maybe they're not so much competitive anymore, and that is, well, that is not an easy thing, but that is life, right? It's life. It's most of the time it's about competition. You got to shape up. You got to be ready to be better. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not getting the job that is needed. But the job of a government is then to prepare the way out, yeah, for these people. So, for example, right now when I see the coal power plant (PLTU), yeah, there are no more new coal power plant going to be built, and there are now even calls for the coal power plant to be retired. Yeah, and of course it's not very easy for a company like PLN, for example, who has still more than 50% of their power generation comes from coal. Yeah, it's not very easy for them to embrace that. So there has to be a way, there has to be a solution from the government to support PLN in this kind of situation. When people demanded renewable energy for their electricity, and PLN still has the majority coming from coal, we cannot simply say then, okay, it's PLN's problem. No, we need to find a way to help PLN, to come out of this challenge, because they are more or less stuck with the existing contract for the coal thermal power plant, which, like it or not, they will still have to take. Yeah, even though there is not so much demand in the market anymore. So this is what we call as the just, orderly, and affordable transition. Yeah, it has to be affordable. Affordable for whom? Affordable for the citizen, of course, for the customer, but also affordable for the companies, the state-owned companies, but also affordable for the country, for the government. And that is why, if we look at the recommendation that is being pushed, it's very important that the developed country also finds a solution, also contributes financially about this challenge. So, for example, Ibu Sri Mulyani, the Minister of Finance of Indonesia, and the Minister of Finance of India just today issued a statement after they had the G20 meeting yesterday, that for renewable energy to be built, somebody's got to pay. Yeah. So the sentence is, if we cannot afford it and you're not willing to pay for it, then it's not going to be built. That is a statement from Indonesia and India. India is going to be the chair of the G20 next year. Yeah. Now Indonesia, next year is India. Is the statement from the leaders of G20, who are both also emerging market, to say to the world that this energy transition, this issue of green jobs, which is part of that, is not a solution that we can handle by ourselves, but it has to be handled with a global responsibility, where the developed country also needs to provide the support for this change to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Agung. Bu Ruli, you want
Yeah.
to?
Yes, thank you, Tanya. Pak Agung, completely agree with you for the last information you give. Yes, this is really a global challenge that we cannot just to address it or face it by ourselves. But the questions, another interesting questions, how green jobs have changed Indonesia. And again, I agree with Pak Agung, it will be changed gradually. For example, it's actually when this as project, we developed this occupational map, we also realized that a lot of those jobs is actually existing jobs. Although at that time, or before this now become more and more, we become more aware about green jobs, it was not directly labeled as green jobs. Two sectors, for example, agriculture, tourism, they already have longer, we know about all those bio products, eco-farming, farming that environmentally friendly. All those practices is already there. And people with that skills, the relevant skills are already there. And the occupations are also already there. The work is already there. So it's actually a lot of works that it was not labeled as green job actually fit into this 5 criteria, at least 5 criteria of green jobs. Tourism. We know globally also the sustainable tourism is already pushed forward years ago. So it's also one of 2 sectors that already busy, quote unquote, with works that preserve and restore environment and not yet really labeled as green jobs. So yes, green jobs will affect Indonesia, will change Indonesia, will be change Indonesia gradually. So this is also, but again, so it is gradual. It will not just stop for a long time. It will develop further. Why? If you remember, on the 3 potential area I mentioned, where the green jobs development in Indonesia, indeed, one is it works that applies green economy principle, all this eco-farming, etc. But another is works that require special skills in environmentally friendly technologies like renewable energy. But if we talk about renewable energy, for example, one of the technology, mini hydro, it's also already existing quite long, although what's really emerging, really developing now, for example, solar technology. But for hydro technology is already there. Geothermal is also quite long time exists. And so again, even in the energy sector, for the renewable energy, there are technology that's already there for a longer time. So gradually will change Indonesia, but it will be quite a long path, and I do not see the end of the tunnel, and I'm happy to see that because all of us really would like to see a world, processes, products, services that greener and greener. And we do it together in green jobs and to accelerate this skills in green skills. Back to you, Tania.
Thank you, Pak Agung and Bu Ruli, for the answer. So I think green job is definitely a global challenge that we cannot face by ourselves, but it definitely moves gradually. So as mentioned by Pak Agung, retraining and preparing for the incentives to bolster people's contribution in the green jobs are definitely 2 of the efforts that can be tried. So as mentioned by Pak Agung himself, that for example, PLN has the struggles as well to moving forward into energy transitions because of the contracts on coal that they had agreed in the past, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't do nothing. Actually, as far as I know, PLN currently has already launched the products in renewable energy, like the renewable energy certificates. And then they're currently developing other green products that can be procured by all of the energy buyers. So not only PLN, but also Pertamina and other companies, other state-owned enterprises, they're doing their jobs, they're doing their strategies to move towards clean energy transition, and which it also drills down to green jobs as well, which Ibu Ruli has mentioned before. It isn't a short time strategy. It does take times to move forward, but we're gradually moving forward. And for me personally, seeing the ambience, seeing the responses from all of the youth, especially for all of the attendants today, I can see the optimism that Indonesia can actually transition into a better clean energy futures, and also all of the youth can also be the next future leader in our era. So I think for me personally, I have the optimism that we can actually move forward according to our target. Okay, so huge gratitude towards Pak Agung and also Ibu Ruli and also Pak Prahoro. Once again, it's such an honor for your wonderful key takeaways. Unfortunately, it was the last questions that can be addressed, but all of the attendees, if you have other further questions, I think you can directly approach all of the speakers. So yeah, as moderator, I am Arizana Tania, or Tania. Send huge apologies for some mistakes that might occur during the event. Hopefully all of the knowledge that our speakers has delivered tonight can map out some of participants' future career in green jobs, especially for the attendees. Thank you for all guests and participants that enthusiastically attend this webinar tonight, and we're looking forward for delivering our upcoming webinar very soon. Without further ado, please welcome back Bianca as our MC for the next agenda. To Bianca, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Tania. Ladies and gentlemen, as our gratitude, now we will have a memento giving session to our honored speakers. The certificate will be given by Jason Palanewen as the representative of the Society of Renewable Energy. The first certificate will be given to Mrs. Ruli Marianti as the Principal Advisor of GIZ. The picture will be taken by our committee. Please welcome Mrs. Ruli and Jason. For the committee, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Bianca. Good evening, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jason Palanewan as the co-project leader of the side events of the B20 Task Force on Energy, Sustainability and Climate, and the representative from the Society of Renewable Energy Indonesia, or also known as Yayasan Indonesia Muda Berbagi Energi. On this chance, allow me, on behalf of the Society of Renewable Energy Indonesia and the committee, to thank our three wonderful speakers. The Honorable Dr. Ruli Marianti as the Principal Advisor of ISAT project at GIZ, the Honorable Mr. Agung Wicaksono as the Deputy Chair of the B20 Energy, Sustainability and Climate Task Force, and the Honorable Mr. Prahoro Nurcahyo as the Head of Human Resources Development Agency at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, for sharing their wonderful and insightful knowledge that they have gathered throughout their professional experiences in their respected careers. Hopefully, as the youth can continue their work and contribute in making Indonesia and the world a better place for everyone to live. In this occasion, we from the committee would like to present a memento of appreciation to our speakers, and also allow me to inform that we will also be donating a carbon offset certificate equivalent of planting 10 trees on behalf of our honorable speakers. Let us present the mementos, starting with Dr. Ruli Marianti. We thank you, Dr. Ruli, for your contribution and your insights today. Please accept this memento. Thank you, Dr. Ruli. Moving on, and for Mr. Agung Wicaksono. Thank you, sir, for your attendance and contribution as a speaker today. Please accept this memento, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure, Jason, and all SRE. Congratulations for the event.
Thank you, sir. And finally, symbolically, for Mr. Prahoro Nurcahyo, who cannot be here with us today, but has given his time to send us his presentation. We thank you. That is all from me. Thank you for the time. I give it back to Bianca.
Thank you so much, Jason, and all of the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your enthusiasm to follow us until now. Now, for the moment that you have been waiting for, due to high enthusiasm, we will be showing a video of our top 65 winners for the Energy, Sustainability, and Climate International SI competition that will be advancing to the next stage. Good luck, everyone, and enjoy the video. Congratulations for those of you who get into the top 65 winners for our Energy, Sustainability, and Climate International SI competition. The team leaders of the top 65 winners will be emailed by our committees for further information. For those who haven't made it yet, don't worry and stay innovative. I would also like to inform, don't forget to join our TikTok competition. Finally, this marks the end of today's webinar, and I hope everyone has gained more insights. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank our guest speakers, Dr. Ruli Marianti as the Principal Advisor of GIZ, Mr. Agung Wicaksono as the Deputy Chair B20 Energy Sustainability and Climate Task Force, and also Mr. Prahoro Yulianto Nurcahyo as the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. And thank you for total 319 participants that joining our webinar today. I would also like to remind you, don't forget to fill in our QC form. As Master of Ceremony, I, Bianca, do apologize if I have any mistakes in presenting this ceremony. Thank you very much for your attention and see you then.